Hey, welcome to the Medicine Cabinet Podcast. Now here's one of our sponsors. Pay the bills, gotta pay the bills.
This episode has been sponsored by Jellyfish Treasury. Jellyfish Treasury is a line of jewelry and other custom-created conceptual and sentimental treasures designed to both celebrate and contribute to life's beauty.
You can collab with the jeweler and put the things you love in your accessories.
Jellyfish Treasury began as a series of earrings with images of artists collaged with recycled materials, antique findings, and colorful beads from all around the world.
Custom colors, custom fit styles for your vision.
There are many ready-made items available, though the real heart of Jellyfish Treasury is making something out of the buyer's sentiment and the maker's imagination.
There's already a product link. If you're not sure what you want, check it out, get some ideas, make an order. Go.
Adorn yourself with your muse.
Yes, this is the one, numero uno, Ichiban. Saying, this is what's going on. I said saying a lot, you gotta pay attention to that. But yeah, this is the first episode, and like, I remember doing this being so nervous, you know, like, cause I know I wanted to do this whole podcast thing, cause I've been doing music for so long, and I wanted like another outlet to be myself, you know, and like, this is the one, you know, like, this is where we all started, and like, we're just getting our bearings. We don't have a name for the podcast in this episode, even though it's the Medicine Cabinet Podcast now. This episode, we're just confused and lost, you know, dazed and confused early. But we have a great guest for the first guest. And like, it was a friend of mine. I met him in Boston, but he's a bassist just like myself. And he also conducts. He's an exceptional conductor. He's also one of the people I play for when I'm preparing for auditions or for concerts. And because it's, well, the mind of most conductors that are serious. Anybody that knows a conductor that plays music, I don't have to explain, you know. And like, yeah, they just have so much knowledge and foundation to what's going on in the music, and they can just tell you the history, what's going on all the way around it. And you can do the research yourself, you know. But it's always good to get another perspective, and like Nate is that for me, and he's been that for me. Saying, and like, yeah, and like, he's a powerful guy because he's also a human rights activist, you know, and like, it's very hard to talk about race, you know, and like, he's a white person that I can talk to about that stuff and have good conversation. I can vent to him, saying, you gotta realize I'm a classical musician, black dude, saying I'm like one of the only ones most of the time, you know, and there's certain things I gotta think about that most people don't gotta think about, but I could talk to him, and I don't think he fully understand, but he understand more than most, you know, and like, he's a good friend, you know what I'm saying, like, saying he's been there, we saying he ride for me, I ride for him, and like, I've always been inspired and motivated by what he does politically for the human rights stuff, because I don't really do shit besides be a black classical musician with dreads and play classical music, and that's out of the ordinary. So I feel at the end of the day I'm doing my part, even though it might be little. Saying, but check out Nate, saying, because I got a lot of white friends that ask me like, what can I do? Saying like, to what side should I be on? Like, blase, you know? And Nate might clear that up, or you might want to butt heads with Nate, you know, on these topics and issues. And all that is fine, because my boy Nate got the answers for you. Trust me. So if you have any questions, see, I got my voice getting raspy. So I've been singing karaoke lately. So I gotta stay away from that hooping stank. But yeah. Nate, yeah, if you got any questions for Nate or us at the Medcap, any of the hosts, you know, hit us up at themedcappod@gmail.com. That's THEMEDCABPOD@gmail.com. It's the same thing for IG and Twitter. So IG and Twitter is the same thing. But yeah, THEMEDCABPOD. And if you're looking for us on Twitter, it's just the Medcap, THEMEDCAB. And you know what the logo look like. So find us on Facebook, find us on all social media. We're out here. And listen to the oh my gosh, listen to the interview, make it to the end, let us know how you think, and enjoy. And check out the featured artist at the end, cause it's banging. All right, have a good one. Enjoy. And we're live.
Oh,
how you doing? Yeah, we're doing it right now. Yeah, this is the podcast. We don't have a name for it yet, but we're gonna figure that out soon. I promise. Yeah. The reason I'm starting the podcast is just to inspire people, because I've met a lot of good people in my life that inspire me to do things and inspire my mind and for me to think in different ways. And I kind of want to introduce them to you guys and hope you guys can find inspiration in that too. Saying the guy that's being interviewed today is my homeboy Nate. Saying he's a bass player, conductor, saying amongst other things. Saying we got TJ hanging out, Sean.
Yeah. Whoa.
And we got Lindsay hanging out with us today too.
Strauss.
And my cat Strauss. Yeah. But let's get into it. So Nate, where you from, man?
I grew up in Denver.
Denver?
Yeah, lived there till I was 18. Then I moved out to East Coast to go to school. That's where I met you.
In Boston,
In Boston.
Yeah.
And then after I finished school, I came down to New York to make music, make sound for a living. It's crazy.
Yeah, cool. And you ever think about going back to Denver or no?
No, I mean, I like going back to visit my family there. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful place.
But you prefer the East Coast?
Yeah, I mean, New York's where the action is. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, like you said, I know that you play bass, but you're into like the new music, like period type of stuff too, right?
Yeah, I do a fair amount of new music stuff. I got to go play a gig right after this at Domena Center. And then, but I've been doing a lot, really getting into the early music scene the last year or two, which, find is really satisfying musically.
And like, what kind of attracted you to the new music over what we had studied over NEC? Like,
well, I mean,
I guess they gave us kind of a peek into that.
I'm down to play some Strauss and Brahms any day. Don't get me wrong on that. But no, I mean, I think playing there's this sense of like discovery in life when you're playing new music that I just think is really exciting. It's like people are really present in the moment, and I think that can be meaningful.
No, for sure. Cool. Yeah. To call. And you and the conducting, like when did that all start?
Conducting started in high school. I remember I went to an arts magnet, and one day the conductor, he had to go do some paperwork, or maybe, I think he just needed to go drink. So he just had it out and put me up there, and it was like, oh wait, I can have a knack for this.
All right.
And then the other kids kind of really encouraged me, and so it became a passion of mine. But personally, I was always really adamant that like I needed to achieve a certain level of skill, of experience, of mastery with the bass before doing that seriously. Because it's just a basic question of credibility. If you're going to lead other people, if you're going to bring other people together to make music, you ought to be able to do what you're asking of other people. And I just think that's a very basic concept that seems to elude a lot of people.
It kind of is like respect in a way.
It is.
I think about that, sometimes with improvisational groups, so it's like maybe without a conductor, but someone takes the ball and chooses to conduct something, and if they are asking someone to do it and they don't know how to do it, or they've never done it, or or they think it's possible, and then once they delegate that responsibility to someone and it's impossible, and they're wondering why it's impossible, it's just disrespectful.
Because I just did a conductor seminar this past week, and like all the different conductors up there, it's just like just watching them go through the motions. It's like you could tell some of them just didn't have any background in what they were trying to get out of us, But like, who were like your influences with conducting that like kind of drove you to this too? Like,
well, I mean, I think about some of my conducting teachers. I learned so much from our double bass teacher, Don Palma, who's also a very skilled conductor, and Michael Jinbo, Ken Kiesler.
Okay.
And really Scott Yu, who's now the music director in Mexico City. Right. Extraordinary musician and conductor who I had the fortune to meet just as I started college. And he is a really profound influence on me as a human being, as a musician, and I just can't say enough good things about him.
Man, those mentors are important, and I've been thinking about that lately. Just somebody older that you talk to that kind of gives you that advice, you know. Kind of, those people are some of the most important people in our lives, man. We gotta definitely shout them out for sure. Yeah. Well, another thing that Nate does that always inspires, that really flips my mind is that Nate is like a human rights activist. Is that correct? That's how you would say?
I guess you could say that.
Yeah, man. He's like just done a lot of things, man. Went to a lot of protests, dropped a lot of facts on me from time to time. And like, it's just mind-boggling sometimes with the information that he gives me, you know. And like, my question is, how did you get into that?
Well, I grew up in a family with like a long history of like radical political activism. And by the time I was born, maybe my parents were out of it a little bit, but they were teaching me from when I was like in the crib.
All right.
And so, you know, when the time came, it was always something kind of in the history of my family, but when the time came, I just stepped into it.
It was already in your blood.
Yeah, I think so.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Like what's it called? You were over. You said you drove over to the Dakota, right?
Yeah, I went to Standing Rock. I went to Standing Rock with a group of people in New York City called NYC Shut It Down. It's a Black Lives Matter organization fighting against police brutality.
Yeah.
For over 2 years, it's held a protest in a different part of New York every single Monday for over 2 years, telling the story of a different person killed by the police.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that a lot of people have remarked on, but I wish more remarked on, that is really incredible about the struggle against police brutality, about Black Lives Matter, is that it draws the connection between so many different struggles. It's all about solidarity. You know, Black Lives Matter, every Black Lives Matter organization is so down for Palestine and Palestinian liberation and the connection with indigenous sovereignty. And so it was just natural that we had to go out there and show our support and show our solidarity and like learn from the indigenous people there who have so much knowledge that you know, is unfortunately ignored.
Yeah, like the climate with everything with the like race and like saying immigrants and all that stuff, you know, it's like it's like so thick and heavy right now. And then like at times I feel like desensitized to the whole shit, cause like yesterday on the news I saw something about some kid got pulled over and the cops just started wailing on him, saying, and then his dad is like, what the hell, and this kid is like crying out, you know, and the neighbor's like, damn, you know, but like it just seems so normal, you know what I'm saying. After a while it's just like kind of out of control, and like I think it's like incredible that you guys have those meetings on Monday, like just saying all the different things, you know, because I think it's easy for a lot of us to just kind of brush it away. And even me as a black dude, you know what I'm saying, it's like I feel guilty at times, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, but like when you tell like your white friends about this, like is everyone supportive? Are they say you over the top? Like how do they look at it?
Some are, but you know, there's a lot of low-key racists out there. Like there's so many, you know, who they'll talk a good talk about, like, you know, MLK was a wonderful man, but then when you get down to the nitty-gritty, they're like, oh well, you know, he should have just listened to that police officer, or well, I heard he had some drugs on him, or oh well, I heard she had some history with the law. And you know, this kind of I mean, this is a country built on racism. It's built on slavery and indigenous genocide. That's what this country's built on. Like, full stop. So, I don't think it's a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise that there's a lot of people out there that, underneath it all, just are not really that down for it.
So, I kind of have a question, because they're, like, in studying these indigenous people, like, you guys have kind of come across some knowledge. What are some things in terms of like tools that they use, you know, socially, economically, spiritually, you know, just in their daily lives to kind of help us solve these problems with, you know, race relations within a bunch of different races? Because maybe indigenous race is pretty much the same. It's like homogenous through the culture. Where we just have clashes every day purely because it's all these different tribes maybe of coming together. But what's one specific piece of knowledge that they have that we can share with them, and bring into our culture?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I would say I certainly always have more to learn. So, I mean, I think the best way to answer that question is to ask some indigenous people.
Yeah, right.
Just real talk. But that being said, I mean, I think one maybe just one brief thing is the idea that we are encouraged in American society to view ourselves primarily as individuals who are separate from one another. And the idea that we have collective responsibilities to each other and that we will achieve things as a community is something that I think is, you could say is, we could learn that from a lot of people. But I think there's reasons why there's reasons why we're not taught to think that way.
Then,
well, yeah, because I mean, that kind of gets back to, when you were talking about having the conversations with other white people, and I feel like I'd be remiss to not comment as the other fully white person in the room, but.
I'm half white. I should put it out there.
Well, I mean, one draw rule, fully other like person who looks like they could be Aryan, yeah, I mean, I went to Hunter for social work. It's like a historically social justice oriented program, and I also grew up Unitarian, which is like another space that's like very saturated with white people, but that white people who are attempting to be conscious, right, about other differences and valuing difference, and also being aware of like the impact you have. But even within these spaces, there being like a certain point where people are willing to engage it because there's some sort of threat with the idea of like kind of I think admitting that you feel guilt. And and it's complicated because some of it might, like for our generation, we weren't, alive during times of like actual slavery or different things like this. So,
but there are some.
So I think,
you're alive during a time of slavery.
There's a lot of
go to a prison right
sure.
now. We have
what I mean is go to
a
a prison, right? Like most people are not in there. I mean, I grew up in a very white area, right? So what I'm saying is that like even if things exist currently, there's a disconnection from it, and I think that there's a certain. It's easier to live a life where you're continuing to not engage it.
Yeah. What's it called?
It's less emotional.
A buddy of mine just recently told me, he's like, just came to the bar like a little furious, but not furious, but just it was been on his mind for a little bit. And he's a white dude. He was like, Chris, like we all experience race, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like for black people, it's like the race is happening to you, saying like, and then like say you're like white and you're trying to be conscious, like. You still have to deal with your family and your friends saying like who are being like racist or not like racially conscious enough, and then they're like, what is too sensitive? It's like
right.
it seems like a constant mind fuck.
Yeah,
that's where I was going with my first question actually, which is sensitivity, because I've actually been thinking about this last night. I was watching Bill Maher and Ice Cube was on.
Oh shit!
So I was like, yeah.
That happened.
No, Bill Maher, right? Let me just lay the ground.
What did he say last week?
He said
he was a house nigga.
Yes, exactly. I was like, okay, so I didn't want to say that.
I said it.
I didn't want to say that right now.
Unreal.
But I thought it, which is where I want to get to with sensitivity. So I thought it because I knew what he said, and I know what that word is. So what I want to know is information sharing between the races, right? Sensitivity. All right, I know that word.
Yeah.
Ice Cube said on the show, you own that word. Now, I'm not black. I'm half white. I'm half Asian. I've grown up around black people. I'm friends with you guys. That is not the excuse of I have black friends. I'm just putting it out there, right? But I am saying that I can think that word because it's art. I've heard white people sing it. I've heard black people sing it. I've heard Indian people sing it.
It's all over the
It's all
that's
in
I
the
think-
lexicon.
I think that's
And it's an undeniable thought to say, censor me and say you can't use that word. It's our word, you know. And I kind of got upset. I grappled with it last night. I thought, Ice Cube, what are you doing?
I think it's a testament
Well,
to African culture in general. I mean, everybody wants to use, our words and language and music, and it has been like
I mean,
that.
I love jazz,
Well,
you know.
well, I mean, exactly. All of American music is based
But
on.
doesn't mean I
but
can't play it. I can't sing it.
But also,
But
jazz
experience
music wasn't like something that was created to put a whole group of people down, and that is
No,
that word
it was an uplifting thing.
Well, he
But-
said something
And
about
also,
but
cool.
Ice
and
Cube
it's
not-
all
was saying,
racism.
I mean,
It's
Ice
all-
Cube has been talking about that for years. Like,
Yeah.
there's a whole documentary about different people talking about the use of the N word and like why it should be off limits.
quick thing. Yo, when I
Ice
was
Cube is in it.
when I was in I was in Argentina a couple weeks ago, and then there's like this one song that I rap on, and then at the end of the show, this kid comes up to me. He goes, "West Side, nigga!" I'm like, and I was like, "Oh shit!" You know, like just kind of caught me off guard. But like the thing is, like every saying Asian person out there is known as a China, you know, and like they don't mean any disrespect by it, you know. And
Yeah,
like,
but it's still
but I think
it's still a thing, though.
I think in America the just the power of being white has has an effect when you hear it from a white dude's mouth saying from up here in the States.
It's also a
But does the
cultural thing.
line blur? Because I'm half white.
Yeah,
Do
no,
I get
no, well-
less credit?
No, well, let me just chime in real quick because none of y'all from the South, so let me just say my 2 cents.
Okay.
Says okay because the Civil War was started in Charleston. Y'all know I rep Charleston hard. This is TJ, you know. But it's like down there, if you're white, you just you don't say. I mean, there's people down there right next to say it, and you just tell them you can't. That's just it's not culturally accepted that white people can say that word. When I first came to New York, all the Hispanic kids are just like, "Yo, my nigga, yo, dead ass."
Same in California.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? You can't say that word because you're not black. But it's okay up here. Then I was like, fine, you got African and you whatever. And then it's just this weird thing. I'm just like, why is this even such a the question is why do people want to say it?
Can I?
You know what I'm saying?
I think it's because white people can't stand the idea that there's one thing, even if it's this big, that's not theirs.
Well,
I think that's what it's about.
yeah,
It's
yes, I
about,
agree.
everyone else in the world has to deal with that. But that's not yours. Too bad. But white
That's,
people
well,
can't
that's
handle
one
that.
thing, but can I actually, I very much think it's that in most cases, but can I say for me, if I ever have that emotion of wanting to say it, it's because it's in my favorite songs. I fucking love hip hop, right? And that's a constant
But
struggle,
also,
right? That I'm
the reason there's even lingo in hip hop is because they didn't want people to know what they're saying. You remember Uncle Luke or
Right,
any of
but I
these
love
rappers?
the
They didn't know back in those days what they were even saying. So they were just saying the most obscene thing, it's all slang, and that's how they wanted it. It was this not for you, it's for us, and you're trying to. So now it's just when new waves come, it's people are late to the gate because they're just they don't understand.
Well, that's why it's complicated.
But it's a sound that you make with your mouth that's in the lexicon of language. Am I not allowed to say? Am I not allowed to say?
Why is this so complicated? But why is this a debate? This is so simple.
Well, because it goes down to self-censor. It goes down to freedom of speech to me. It goes right to freedom of speech.
No, you are. All right.
Yeah, okay.
You guys own that lick, right? Is that am I not allowed to play Booba Doobie Doo?
But the point that TJ was making,
man?
but the point that TJ was making, I think, that because it is kind of speaking to what I have struggled with over years, being I am a white chick that is really passionate about something that it is really created in a context that's not for me, and I'm aware of that because it's clear, it's in the lyrics, it's in there's a lot of different aspects of that. But I also
want to sing your favorite.
Yeah, I want to sing Dre songs and not be shy.
I have no problem censoring myself. I accepted a long time ago that that was a word I couldn't say. But I think what it speaks to is that there's another layer even further, like you're talking about, like the
Layers
heavy
upon
use of
layers
ebonics
upon
and like
layers.
earlier hip hop. Like it's sort of designed to be exclusive.
Oh, for
right?
sure. But now it's like a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah.
Just
That's
like,
right.
you know, all of the black music. I mean, look at jazz. Look how that went across the world. Look how rock went across the world. It's like, you know, like some of the greatest rock bands were British bands. But did it originate over there? You know?
But if we go into the history of rock and roll too, you can say that they had their own little epicenter of struggle with the whole slavery in London, and they have their line of history, you know, with their own deal.
Oh, yeah,
with
they
race.
were
And
ruling
maybe
the
they
world
have
for-
different words that really touch them off. But why are these words all of a sudden? Like if I know it in my brain, I can't articulate it in reality.
I guess
why is that?
Well,
there's
first
a
of all,
disconnect there.
the first reason I tell my white friends not to say it is because just because your black friends you grew up with were cool with you saying it doesn't mean every black person is going to be cool with that, and you're going to fuck
I
up
can
on
accept
that.
the responsibility,
And that's gonna be on you when you get punched in the
going to do
face,
to me if
like,
I say it. I can accept that.
Like, I think at the
It's a
end of the
sensitivity
day,
thing, like you said.
we have a black man from Charleston right here saying,
Yeah.
"Don't say the word."
Exactly.
And the thing is,
just
like,
out of safety
like-
and you know
But
just
let's
respect for people who are not over that
where
word.
Ice Cube goes too far, in my opinion, is he says that you guys own that word. Now, let's say there's
Nah.
a group of
no one gives a fuck what you think or what I think. That's
Yeah.
the point. What we think doesn't matter. Because if you're really in solidarity with people, you're
Yeah.
willing to follow their leadership. You're willing to follow their leadership when they say, don't say that word. And it's not our
But that's
place.
respect. That's more like respect
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
other person than it
Yeah,
is
exactly.
respect for that
Like
stupid word.
This is
Well,
right?
yeah, exactly. It's all about respect.
It's respect for the human being that's
No,
sitting
but-
here in front of me, TJ. Like that's not. It's like I have no. I mean,
Well, for instance, let me
no
just,
respect for the.
Let me just give an
N-word at all.
example. Like, you ever watch South Park? There's this episode where, you know, he's like, what's his name's dad? He's like, he's playing Jeopardy. He's like,
Oh, God.
what group of people bumped you?
yeah.
But it was great.
Yes.
It was a great episode.
Great
because
episode.
At the end of the song, he's like, I get it. I don't get it. Like he just don't. You will not understand. Stop trying to grasp and get it. Like, for instance, I have a lot of Asian friends. Like, you know, I got half of
Yeah.
cousins.
Yeah, you got half
There's
of
some,
them right here in the room.
there's some cultural shit that I will never understand, you know.
Well, I can help you.
Well, yeah, you can help me, but there's a certain level. It's like, all right, fine. I just can't get that. I can sympathize with you, right?
You know,
I
but
guess.
I was listening to some music, and there's like Stephen Foster music singing about slavery, and there's a white dude, American songwriter from the
that's
South,
a different
right?
time.
A different time. I listen to Rolling Stones. He's singing and he's saying the N word. It's not. I mean, it's you don't
They're British,
realize
they
it,
don't
and they're
know.
telling a story. You know, I think it's called Sweet Black Angel, and it's like a story, right? But he's using the word in an artful way, you know, and it's Mick Jagger, but.
Oh,
Well, it's
shit.
before the word was taken back, though, when that happened, right? Like,
Wait,
so-
what was the point in time when it was taken
the
back?
NWA, probably, right? I mean, like, do we
Okay.
know that?
Well, yeah, I guess.
So
I mean,
Ice-T and Ice
So,
Cube
I mean,
took it
so-
back?
it's a time thing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So
Well,
that-
that's why Ice Cube, like having that conversation with Bill Maher, is significant because, I mean, at least the way that he tells his own story, they take credit for that.
I mean, I respected Ice Cube. I heard it,
And not
the
to
way
say
he's presented
they
the
take
idea,
credit.
I was like, that's dope.
And let me actually
But at the
just
same
take-
time, I had.
Let me take it one step further because he does. They don't take credit actually for taking it back. They take credit for publicizing
Yeah.
that it had been taken back, like within like.
That's right.
That just makes people
I
want
remember
to
that saying that.
say it even more.
Huh?
Have you ever been to those shows? Thousands of people. It's like mostly like white kids. I mean, any like big show like that is just mostly white people.
Yeah.
That's your fans, and so it's like it's kind of a weird thing. It's like, yeah, we're taking it back, but not really. We're making millions of dollars off these white
Yeah,
kids.
if you're LL Cool J,
I was like,
you know.
it's a weird thing.
yeah. So Nate. So like.
Sorry, we got off track. I did that. That was all me. But I just am interested in kind
That's
of.
all-
I had this weird thought last night watching that show.
It's all good. Now, my whole point of bringing it up, it was good to hear all those things. Is like, so like, what do you think? Like, cause like, I told somebody I was gonna want to do it, like, cause I got into like a little social media thing with somebody, posted something on my wall, and then like me and him had a little back and forth, and then he had ended up erasing it, you know, and I'm like. I thought that was like some soft stuff, you know, but like, yeah, but we talked it out, you know what I'm saying? But like, he struggles with like he doesn't know what to do, you know, as a white dude, like what's safe, like what's where do you draw the line with free speech? And he didn't like drop any N-bombs, but he was just stating his opinion, you know, which was because what happened was somebody, because I was at a gig, and then some lady that I've been playing at the gig with for 10 years comes up to me and treats me like a stagehand. She's like, hey, could you get me some lights? And like all that stuff. So I'm like, I don't know what the lights are, man. I'm like, I play in the orchestra with you. And then she just looked all confused. You know, like, but and I was sensitive about on the moment, so I posted some shit about it. And then like this dude just had challenged how I was supposed to feel and said like maybe she made an honest mistake. It's just like, I don't know. But we had talked it out. But like people like he was stating his opinion, and like people like him don't know what to do. And I have other friends that question me all the time, like what should I do? And like I don't know that answer for.
Well, I mean, right there in that example that you give though. Like,
but Nate, like, what do you think would be a suggestion like of what they should do or try or a mentality or something?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of things. I mean, the simple answer is white people should join multinational anti-racist organizations led by people of color. That's the number one thing right there.
What's one of those? I don't know the names or anything.
Yeah, well, you know, like I'm in a group, the People's Power Assemblies, that meets every Wednesday on 24th Street in Manhattan. Meetings are open. You can come by any time and get involved. NYC Shut It Down every Monday. Find both those groups on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter. People's Power Assemblies, NYC Shut It Down. And, like, you know, come out with us and get involved. Because, you know, a lot of people, like, at the end of the day, more people need to be involved in active political organizing.
So in getting involved, let's say it was me, like, I know nothing about these organizations, I just learned the name and kind of where they are. What does it look like when you say get involved? What does it look like for me to walk out of my place and say I'm getting involved? Right? I'm going to this place, and then I do what? Like, I pick it,
it might be different things. I'll tell you what I was doing today before I came here and why I'm kind of sleepy. You know, all around the country today, some like super far-right fascist organizations had big rallies in every major city around the country, and they were rallying in Foley Square today. So I was out there with 300-400 other people to shout them down and make it clear that NYC does not want these fascist pieces of shit around here. Now that was us putting our bodies on the line. Like, you know, obviously the cops were not our friends because the cops always side with the right wing. And, you know, these are, you know, so I mean, going out there and confronting them and showing that NYC doesn't want that there, and when possible even disrupting their rally so that they can't organize, that's like a material accomplishment, because you're preventing the far right wing, which is emboldened right now in this country, from mobilizing and organizing itself. So that's something you could do right there. But I mean, like, let's talk more like prosaic, because I think that's what Chris was getting at.
Oh, just like anything, Sam.
Like, I think it's valid that you got to challenge in white spaces when people do racist shit, and you just let it slide, because that you're sending a really powerful message when you let that slide. When you let somebody, you know, make that joke that, you know, is pretty off color, but it's like, it's kind of awkward, I'll just let that go. Yeah. Like, you're giving that person power, and it's really important, you know, to call people on that, and they're like, oh,
so
social
Maher,
justice
like,
war,
almost being forced, almost kind of being forced to apologize. Not being forced, he definitely chose it.
But
Bill Maher, social media
though,
definitely clapped
people are still on the side though.
Yeah,
like, I mean, you know.
Bill Maher, by the way, though, there's nothing new about Bill Maher. He's been saying racist, Islamophobic shit for years.
But at the same time,
years.
Can you not say that he's kind of helped the conversation progress in some way?
No, he is not. He is not.
Okay.
Because he's that guy trying to look sort of like progressive, but then being like, those Muslims though. Like, no,
I think for him,
I'm not about that.
That's a different issue, right? I think what they're talking about with the Muslim issue is literally just the statistical part of it. I think sometimes just looking at
terrorists,
like him and Sam Harris. I think in those like those two people.
The vast majority of terrorists are white people. White supremacists kill way more people than anyone else. Not to mention that the U.S. kills. I mean, the U.S. killed 400 people in the past few months.
Can I ask you a question, man? Cause so when I remember when the election happened, I was with some friends. They know who they are. We were in Brooklyn chilling, and I called Donald Trump. I called that he was going to win like 6 of the others. Like, oh man, yeah, he's probably going to win. They're like, no, stop joking. I was half joking, but I was like, man, he could do this, and he did it. And for me, I was like, okay, now it sucks. When I was growing up in South Carolina, like, people were racist, like, because they didn't fuck with you. They didn't, like, even associate themselves with you, and they let you know, which was like, okay, fine. Thank you for letting me know. I can do my stuff, you can do your stuff. But, when I moved up here, I was like, oh, shit, it's real gray up here. I have no idea what new white person I meet, if they're cool or not. Like, I just don't know. Like, they could be the coolest person, or they could be asshole. So, do you think that this election, by exposing people being emboldened and stuff, that's a word, do you think that is in some way a good thing, that people are being more honest about their feelings, then we can take it from there?
Because it's exposed.
Because it's exposed. Like, it's not like they're like, all right, I'm going to...
Yeah, it's going to get heated.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, it's going to be conflict, but in the end, maybe...
conversation about more people...
Well, like, going back to the Muslim thing, and even Bill Maher, we could move it away from black culture really quick and say, like, well, if you are allowed to say that no other culture can say the N-word, and you can criticize someone like that just as like a group and say, look, all you guys, that feels like a big stab when you do that, right? When you believe that word that you say, that's a big deal. And then you look at not all Muslims, but some Muslims who take that ideology to the extent and carry out like terrorist attacks that just happened, And so that's, I think, where people are in terms of like Bill Maher and like I think that side from the liberal side, just about curbing also their responses and their thoughts, on to that side instead of like, where am I going with this?
So do you think it's a good thing or not? Like,
well, I think that okay. So looking at Bill Maher or just like those that they're both liberals, like we're liberal, they're liberal, but they have a perspective that is somewhat valid, and so is ours. Well, I mean,
it's
at
not
least
valid
they're arguing it, and you're arguing it. So we have to at least accept that right now there's going to be a huge conflict, right? This kitchen is going to get heated as fuck.
It's going to get heated
because no one really knows the answer yet. There's no real answer.
For me, I just think that humans are only
I think if there was a real
together.
answer, we'd be doing it.
Humans only work together through terror.
I feel like we're going to a dark place.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for Nate, if I could do that. Which I feel like would be a good transition. So I did a little research on you, aka I looked at your Facebook wall in preparation for this podcast meeting.
Fact checking.
And you asked Facebook a question.
I didn't know what that is.
You asked you on your status, like you put a question out there about this Schubert piano piece that you posted, which I listened to, and it was very beautiful. And you write, "Blown away. Been thinking about really struggling with this sort of music for a while, this sort of profound or transcendent music. What's its relation to our world? Is it escapism that allows us to forget? Or is it a vision that allows us or forces us to see the world more clearly?" And so I'm curious, actually, like what your thoughts are on that question.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's a struggle. I think about it a lot. You've seen this, whenever there's ever like some kind of tragedy around the world, on Facebook, musicians always like to share this Bernstein quote. And it's like, I don't remember the exact words, but it's something like, our response to violence will be to make music more beautifully, or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, so I don't remember these words, something like that. That's the gist of it. And, okay, that's all well and good, but that does not address the material conditions that created that violence.
Right.
And so it creates like
you got to be active.
Right? And that's what I mean by, is this escapism? Like, if the beauty in that Schubert piece is not something that inspires you to somehow make the world a better place, then it is a counterproductive response, I think. And that post it's a challenge to classical musicians, because I was really shocked. A few months after Mike Brown was killed, there was this incredible protest at the St. Louis Symphony. They're playing the Brahms Requiem. And right before they were about to start, like, some people dropped some banners from the balcony, like Black Lives Matter, and a few, like, people got up and began to sing. And it was this incredibly powerful moment, because, like, they're about to play the Brahms Requiem, and people are calling attention to someone who was murdered in their own community by the police. And what really struck me, is how the musicians on stage just seemed to think it was the stupidest thing ever. Like, can we play already?
I feel like they're far removed from that world. I mean, how many black musicians were
You tell me. Yeah,
I'm guessing less than 5.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that was...
Your answer to the last question, you said people need to go get involved, and like, that's I guess that's could truly be the answer, because like the reason those people reacted like that, because like as a black man in classical orchestras, I deal with that all the time. So, and from what I understand, the reason they act like that is because they have no exposure to like black people, or any other thing other than their classical music, what I'm saying?
And even if they're good people, they might just come off just saying some dumb shit.
Well, and then at
least people I know
that's
growing
got
up.
to be a teachable moment. Like those people that just yell out of the movie theater, right? Those guys who just yell in the N-bomb just because they're excited. They never had that black friend to be like, "Yo, dude, that's not cool."
Right.
I've had that so many times. I was lucky enough to have that, But granted, I have been in places where there are like very few black people, but the word has made it there.
Yeah, where I grew up.
And so it's like, what are you gonna do now? There's no one to kind of enforce that little rule that.
But that's what I was saying earlier.
Very, very
like,
true.
I think there is someone to enforce that rule, and that's you.
That's okay.
Because you see, the thing is, like, those kind of conversations, like, I've had plenty of black people tell me they don't want to have that conversation. They don't always want to have to be, correcting white people when they do racist shit.
Yes,
women don't like to spend all their time pointing out all the misogynist shit that men do.
It's true. It's exhausting, right?
So it's like
at my job, if I point out saying that somebody's being racist, I will be looked upon as the angry black dude. I will get less calls.
And women probably feel the same way, right? Like when you look like you're too naggy or whatever in the workplace, or you're just complaining about shit.
Or if there's like a certain level of like people flirting with you all the time that you have to play along. You have to play along with, because if you're not going to, like, your relationships are not going to run as smoothly. I had a client yesterday who actually was flirting with me, like, in Spanish the whole session, and I had to do paperwork for it. And I know that I should have addressed it with him, like, this is inappropriate and you're crossing a boundary, and you know that I don't understand what you're saying, so you could be saying things that are greatly inappropriate. And I did not have the time. So I just
the energy.
I just like gave him a look, and at one point was like, you know better. But otherwise, I just ignored it and let it happen.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the best course of action, though? Like, instead of calling him out right
probably.
I think for me in that moment, it was. But I mean, if I were to have been thinking on a level of like correcting male inappropriate behavior on a global scale not have an impact, then in that moment I might have
pick your battle.
had that teaching moment with
what's that quote that someone I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, instead of trying to, like, there's rocks around the world, instead of trying to coat the whole world in like fucking rubber and nice Dr. Scholl's, like, you just buy some shoes, you can't go around just covering everything and like just like red carpet.
Okay.
You gotta, like, if everybody did their part, I mean, I guess that's like the main thing about protests. I mean, I haven't gone to many protests, out of,
Have you gone to any? Yeah.
Probably not. No, actually, no, I did, but it was like...
One experience with protests in New York City was not fun, and it was not that
arrested?
enlightening because I went to Occupy Wall Street.
Oh, I remember that. We
And
played
I got
Occupy.
really
Remember that?
disenchanted by it because nobody took the initiative to say like,
It wasn't organized.
yeah,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
what we're here for. This is what we stand for. It was actually just a bunch of people chilling, you know, kind of
Yeah.
taking up space and getting in the way, really,
And like making
and not really making a point.
Well, they were making a point, but they didn't have like really an agenda.
Well,
That was
yeah, that's what I
clear.
meant. They weren't executing
Whereas like
it.
Black Lives Matter is like very organized in its agenda by
For
comparison.
sure.
Okay, I gotta go check it out. I guess you gotta show up.
Yeah.
Because the Occupy Wall Street really, that was when I was in college and I was thinking like, all right, I'm trying, you know, I'm getting these ideas in school. I need to go. And then I went and I was like, what?
It was just, it was just weird.
Well, you know, every movement has its ups and downs, and I think it's important, like from our perspective, to defend any social movement.
Yeah.
Because like there's certain kinds of criticisms that when you make, you're feeding into right-wing propaganda, even if you don't necessarily realize you're doing that. And so that's something to keep in mind that like Occupy certainly had its shortcomings. One of its biggest shortcomings is how it excluded women and people of color. And it was pretty consistent in the way it did that. And that was one of the reasons that it did not expand beyond it is. But you can also, I mean, and it was very formless, although there were deliberate strategic reasons in some sense why people wanted to do that, for better or for worse. I mean, I think you can say that there's a certain acknowledgement about the unequal distribution of wealth in our society and the world that's pretty universally known and accepted, that I think you can attribute to Occupy Wall Street for all its ideological shortcomings. And believe me, I could go on far longer than we want this podcast to be about the ideological shortcomings of Occupy Wall Street.
Well, yeah, exactly. But that was like I feel like that's a good example of like kind of a failed organized movement recently of our generation that really kind of made a splash, but it didn't really make a wave.
But I mean, but it did serve the purpose of exposure. That's what I'm hearing. Like, I knew about that stratification. I was a sociology major. It's a big thing you talk about. But most people didn't have this idea of 99% of the capital being controlled, or over 90% being controlled by 1%. The 1% thing was something that was known in pockets intellectually. But now it's like a household.
Because they kind of added that
People
to the
know.
lexicon, you know?
Yeah.
Because to where Bernie was talking about it, it was basically quoting a lot of stuff from the...
Yeah, so I mean,
Wall
even
Street
if they
movement.
didn't have like a clear agenda that was concrete,
Yeah.
that thing was...
So it was important in terms of that it at least accomplished the awareness issue.
To call so then I got another question. So you ever run into like people of color? It's just like they see you and see what you're doing, and it's like they don't fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't really understand what you're doing, and like they're thrown off by it. I'm saying, like, you ever deal with that?
I mean, every once in a while, I think it's important to like acknowledge that black people are usually talked about in the U.S. as like a block. Like every black person is the same. And it's a kind of, obviously it's extremely racist.
Oh, for sure.
And so like the idea that different black people might have different opinions is constantly, you know, being pushed aside. So of course there are people, you know, it was
Cause what was it was the Trump the pussy rally saying what's it called? There was a
Pussy rally just kind of casually dropped that. Was it the pussy rally? I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
Women's march?
Yeah.
oh shit, yo, my bad.
I don't know what you're talking about, Chris.
No.
But I'm not
pussy
mad at
rally.
the
That's
pussy
right.
rally.
they,
That was
So
maybe
am I allowed
a
to say
better...
pussy?
Pussy is a great word.
That's a guy.
because I was thinking about the hats. I was thinking about the hats that they had.
The pink hats.
Yeah, the pink
Makes me
hats.
think of pussy.
No, they were like pussies and like pussy power. And I remember
They're great hats.
I remember protests for that down the Women's March. But like I knew people that didn't want to attend because they were like it was like some white shit they were saying.
Oh, there was a lot of...
Saying it wasn't about everybody. It was just like some white women type shit.
There was a lot of criticism.
And those are the type of
Yeah.
black people I'm talking about. Like, how is it when you deal with them? Do you?
All right, to add on that question, I know I have black friends, and we were talking about this whole relations in the world, and they're like, yeah, I'd just rather have just black people just have our own country and just get the fuck out of here and just do our own shit. And I understand that sentiment too. I'm like, okay, well, fuck, But at the end, but also I was like, well, at the end of the day, no matter like all the movements you have, like everything we're doing like legally through like. We're trying to like fight the system through the system in a sense, right? Well, except for like showing up that shit. But at the end of the day, whoever has the biggest guns, pretty much rules. I mean, I looked at the nukes, like just a map of all the nukes in like the world. Like the U.S. has like 7,000 something, and Russia has like 7,000, like a little more. And none of the brown countries have anything. Like nothing. I'm like, you can't have like one or two.
But that
there's nothing in Africa.
Like the hierarchy of like dominance.
Right.
Like, if you could look at a small group between us five, but then look at each country as a person, that person with 7,000 nuclear weapons is obviously that most dominant dude.
Right. But it's like, it's a stalemate. Nobody's really gonna nuke anybody.
Exactly.
Which is hilarious.
Like the
it's
most
like
dominant
a dick
chimp
contest.
doesn't kill every other chimp in his, in his pride.
So where's the value? Like, if that's like the ultimate thing in the world, like, if you have the bigger stick, you're the that's still some like primal shit, like right?
Yeah, but fucking primal.
If you look at history, like people do turn the guns around.
That's true.
Like that is something that happens historically.
Nat Turner, Haiti?
Yeah.
Suicide?
No,
that too.
Like revolutionized.
Where when there are mass mobilizations and mass uprisings, you get situations like, during the Vietnam War, there were soldiers, I believe in Fort Hood, Texas, that were going to be sent to Chicago to put down protests at I believe it was the Democratic National Convention there. The black soldiers at Fort Hood refused to go because they said, no, we are not going to go there and shoot our black and brown brothers and sisters who are rising up against this racist system. And they refused to go. And that terrified the United States. And similar things happened to Vietnam. We hear the story told about Vietnam right now is that like there was this like conflict where it was like there were all these people protesting who didn't like the war, and they hated the soldiers who went and fought. But the funny fact is, many of the soldiers hated the war. Of course they hated the war. They were the ones over there dying. You don't hear about all the soldiers who killed their own officers, who fragged their officers rather than go fight, because they understood their real enemy was not the Viet Cong out in that jungle. It was this racist imperialist system right here at home. And so, people do rise up, and when people rise up, sometimes they turn the guns around. And some of those officers in Vietnam found that out the hard way.
So do you as a person, like just inside, do you feel like you're more of like a pessimist or optimist when it comes to human nature? Are you like, people will...
Are people good or bad?
Oh yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
That's what you asked.
Yeah, like
Are
do you
we
think
good or
that
bad?
people are capable, or are they just monsters inside?
I think people are
both, or maybe they're little both.
I think people are influenced by their material conditions, and that if we're going to understand how people, particularly large groups of people, operate, we have to look at their material conditions instead of looking through it through a moralizing lens.
Why material conditions? Because one could say maybe it's not material conditions, but it's just maybe you don't need enough stuff, right? But you need power. You need so maybe you're just one person feels lower on that ladder, right, and they're real pissed, or one group of people feels lower on that ladder. Maybe they're, Beyonce and Jay-Z are doing great, so they obviously have material possessions, right, and we're doing all right.
That's a great point, because I think personally, like hip hop and everything, that's from like America. That is like a capitalistic kind of music. You know what I'm saying? That's just the society we're in. Like that's what we're about as America.
Russia would not
you get that fucking money, you have those parties, you enjoy your life, but somebody has to lose, like in capitalism, right? Like
yes,
there has to be a loser or it won't work.
That means in some ways we're good, but
Somebody
we're
has
trying to beat some. We're trying to win, right? In
Right,
some way.
everybody's trying to win. Well, crabs in a barrel, you know, like somebody's got to be at the bottom of the barrel.
Well, but then that becomes right now.
To circle back, this is what I was saying earlier about how we are taught in this society to see ourselves as individuals who achieve by defeating other people. Because the ruling class does not want us to look at each other through the lens of solidarity and to see what we can accomplish together. That is what they don't want. And so
Maybe if we were in a communist nation.
Well, that has problems too. I mean, just because they have humans in them, it sounds good on paper.
Well, I mean, that's where it comes to that question to be good or bad.
It creates a vulnerable population, right?
The communist experience to me hasn't really worked. Or hasn't beaten the capitalist system, really. Maybe in this last election, maybe a little bit. Maybe figured out some new trick. But I feel like, the capitalist system is kicking the shit out of that system.
Well,
really? Really? Just look how many people are unemployed in this country.
Would the communist system have made the car, the computer, I mean, I could go on.
Well, you're making points
it's
that
all about
within that context, people can be stifled because you're not really encouraged to, go to your full potential necessarily. But that's also how we grew up thinking that the method of capitalism is better.
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's logical. I don't know. I was conditioned to think that was logical.
I don't know. I mean,
it's a tough thing. I just think it's a human thing.
See what's up there. Yeah, my mother lives there. Go see.
I lived in India, and there was one thing that I did really enjoy remembering back in childhood, and I just had this thought all the time, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, was I just thought, USA #1, baby. I just thought, man, America works so great. It's actually, whatever bullshit is actually happening with the struggles and things and everything, we have a really good, the races are working together. They are making clean streets and societies.
Well, at least as good as it's ever been.
At least as that's what I mean, relative to the other shit happening in the world that I've seen. And granted, I've only been to Asia and a little bit of the south of the United States. It doesn't look like maybe they're doing anything better or more efficiently. They still have the same problems.
Well, that's because the wealth of this country is built off the poverty of places like India. People like to act like they're disconnected. Or to go back to the moralizing thing, that it's people in Bangladesh, people in India, they just need to get their shit together.
Right.
When that is so fucking racist. The reality is...
Why?
India and Bangladesh and Pakistan are poor because they have been robbed for centuries, and they are robbed every year, and they continue to be robbed. And the wealth, exactly.
But could it also be their people are robbing them too? The 1% over there is drastic between 99
the wealth. The 1% in India serves the 1% here in Western Europe. At the end of the day, the economic forces that control the major capital in India and every other developing nation are the major leaders of the ruling class here and in Western Europe.
Do you ever watch old martial? I love martial arts films, but I love how they're set in that time period. It'd be Japan or China. And they're fighting Ip Man, we gotta fight the establishment. And then this this British officer is just fucking with everybody. Even the boss, the Chinese boss, is just yeah, fuck you. You want these guns? Fuck you. It's so fun. It's so oh man, they got all this drama in their country. But like you're saying, they're still serving that world power. There's nothing they can do because they're just why the fuck does. Why do I live down the street from a Liberian embassy? You know what I'm saying? Why every country I go into has a U.S. embassy? That's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like, hey, bro, how you doing? Yeah, we're just gonna set up right here. Yeah, do your shit. No, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
You got
So
it.
no, like
Look at
our presence in other places in the world is very overwhelming.
It's kind of
But the
scary.
embassy is like supposed to be like a building of diplomacy between.
Yeah,
the two
okay.
countries.
Yeah,
That's the
military
point of the fucking embassy.
Who built
It's
that
a
building?
point of contact.
Who built the building? Who's the janitor?
Why do we need to
I
be
mean,
there?
come on, man. But I guess then you really think everybody's evil, right? Because it's like, come on, it's the people that go to work for peace that go to work in
No, but
embassies.
there's.
You seriously think the U.S. embassies exist to foster peace in the world?
I mean, I
How
found that
many
work for
military
the
bases do
UN.
we
I
have?
have friends that
How
work
many
for the UN.
military
They're
bases do we
people.
have?
They're great people.
It's like a
Give me
hall
a break.
monitor.
Yeah,
Give me a
exactly.
break.
It's still working for the teachers.
But okay,
But the point is, I mean, somebody in that role might like see it that way, right? But when you're putting like a satellite of yourself in other places, even if it's with the purpose of doing good, you are asserting your control,
NSA.
and nobody else does that.
How you doing, NSA?
How you doing, NSA? What's good?
So, that's good.
Yeah, that's a crazy.
but
thing.
like you said, we're the most dominant ones, So
We
I guess
are.
that is what happens when you have
Well,
7,000
yeah, but then-
nuclear weapons.
Yeah, that's what
And you're
happens.
just running around the world, with this big suit of armor on, and like Iron Man, just
America.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
I don't remember how we
But do you,
got
really,
here.
do you really feel like it's us? Like, do you identify with that power? Does that feel like that's you? Do you feel like that power represents you or has your
Oh,
interests
this
at
big
heart?
crazy Iron Man, like
Yeah, that when you said we have 7,000 nuclear weapons or whatever, I don't know. Forgive me.
Well,
I don't know what
whatever the number is.
Like, do you really want to use the pronoun we?
That's our responsibility.
Like,
is like we have that. We have those weapons.
Not like,
we have to accept that. It's like Spider-Man, right? That with great power comes that great responsibility of look, we've created this huge force.
But I
And
think
it's
you say,
terrible.
do you think that you could?
But
do
we're not going to be
something
malevolent,
to stop
terrible people and kill everyone.
Well, that's what-
that would be horrible, right?
like
He's been doing that
Well,
shit.
like
Shit since
like
Well, no.
like whenever I travel, it's like I definitely know that I'm American. Saying like whenever anywhere I go, saying like even my family's from Jamaica, I look like straight Jamaican, but like they know as soon as I start walking that I'm an American, and like
Oh yeah.
so I definitely would say I identify with some of that weed too, but like but it's different for like
But the first time I had someone criticize Americans' military stances when I was abroad,
of course
I
yeah.
actually because here I'm very against military action. I feel like, and the first time I had someone criticize it, and they said you.
Oh yeah,
You do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I was like,
They get that
what?
shit
And
too.
now I had to defend this position, and I thought well, I actually could defend it because I know these points,
Right.
and I started to do it, and I did it really well, and
But do you think that? I mean, for me, I came for me, the military, I'm kind of like, and like the whole gun issue, just being on the south.
gun
like,
issues is a good one to get into.
it's like, I don't know. We're at the point it's just too late to not have a military. Like you kind of have to have protection.
Well,
Like
yeah,
if you're
right.
an important figure, you have to have security. Like you get to a point, it's like, well, okay, fine. Like I have to do this, so it's like you kind of got to be strapped in this wild, wild west world of like, imagine if U.S. didn't have
if you want to maintain what you've already created.
Well, that's
and not
yeah.
maybe
That's
not
what I
even
mean.
maybe not
you
even
know?
as a point
Yeah.
of like we
got
created
family.
this and we want to have it, but like as a point of like
Yeah.
oh shit, like we've fucked a lot of people over.
right.
Maybe if we,
This is my
maybe
question,
if we
like-
lost some of our power, like we fucked.
Do you feel like that American military is really protecting your interests? That it's really defending you?
Oh no, I don't
Exactly.
have
It's not.
Yes,
it's
yes,
not.
I do.
It's really
but
not.
Why do you
No,
think
but
that's
it's
not?
really
Why do you think
not.
that's not? And I'll respond why I think it is.
Well, I think like we generate to capitalism, so in like a weird offshoot way, like yes, they're kind of protecting our shit. Somebody has to do it, but I'm not the one direct. Like the people who are actually making the actual calls, like sending people in strategic shit. It's like obviously I have no say in that.
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
kind of like the battery.
Let the generals
like
do
like
their
the Matrix,
job.
like we're just the food source.
I think
the power
Chris,
source.
Chris was saying, like, talking about sort of just the impact that you have on being an American somewhere else. Like, I think that for most of my life and most of the day, like, I don't connect deeply to like the American image. I've never like felt like a patriotic person ever. But I try, I think, consciously to say we, because at the end of the day, like, that is where I'm from. It's where I live. It's a part of who I am, even if I don't, even if I'm not in a position that is where I'm making decisions about what America is in the world, like I am.
Well, it kind of ties to me.
That's the idea about, like, even if you didn't ask for responsibility, sometimes you have it.
Well, like,
That's
to me, it
that
ties
idea
to
of
this
awareness.
thing, like, what you were just talking about, and President Trump right now, all right? So, like, and the military.
I can't talk about
Right?
it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but all three of those things, right? The military is our military. The president is our president. You know, I'm one of those people that I feel like people have to call him President Trump. He is President Trump, and we have to accept, at least at some level, that right now he's carrying out the actions that's leading that military. He is leading that crazy military, or at least he's letting generals run the military that he's appointed.
Right.
And it's like, until something happens where it's either he's impeached or, right, a new president comes along 4 years later or 8 years later, you just have to accept that right now the Republicans have the ball, and we are moving in their ship, or we're moving in the direction that their boat goes.
I don't think we have to accept that.
I think in some ways that's what the election decided, right?
When it comes to war across the world, like, I'll say this about a lot of issues, but I'll definitely say it about U.S. militarism. Both parties are driving the boat in the exact same direction.
Sure.
You know, when Donald Trump bombed that airfield in Syria, that was literally the most popular thing he's done as president. 46 major media outlets wrote editorials about it. 45 supported.
Right.
So both parties are war parties. Both parties support war and death and imperialism around the world, hands down. I mean, there's no serious... When was the last time one of the two major political parties led an anti-war movement in this country?
I don't even recall. That's the one thing that everyone's just... It's the fear of losing your... Like I was saying earlier, like, I mean, maybe it's kind of pessimistic, though I'm kind of a pessimistic optimist. Like, I think that human beings truly, like, only work together when there's some kind of outside terror. Like, I mean, that's the whole basis of Watchmen. Like, do you ever know, Watchmen? Yeah. Like, the end is like, shit, this is really morally fucked up, but...
Some dragon is everywhere.
Like, everybody's working together now, like, you know, because somebody just bombed New York. I'm like, God, that's horrible. But it's like, I feel like when some real shit goes down, like an asteroid, I'm all about nature and stuff. Or like, you know, I don't know, some solar flare knocks out all the electricity. Then we'll see what humans are really about. Like,
well, I think it's whenever people are put in uncertainty, right? You put them in a weird, chaotic situation, and you see people's human nature come out real quick.
Sure. This is a big reason why I value Nate. Like, so, like, you hear all these things coming around you right now. Everybody's saying this and that, and like,
crazy.
And it's like, every Monday saying like you can drop like death facts, and I know you got all this knowledge inside, and it's like how this is the shit that really inspires me. Like, how do you still go? Because obviously all this talk saying like we're all not fully there, saying mentally where we need to be to get to that thing you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And like how do you keep on going, man? Like, because it seems impossible.
Stay tuned for part 2.
4 Loop, 2 Loop brings you future fashion with a fantastic impact. The silicone loop necklaces come in assorted colors: black, white, turquoise, butterscotch, coral, gray, navy, purple, and rust, with sizes ranging from 17 to 30 inches. Pop them on for a splash of volume and presence without weight or the hassle of clips and hooks. Visit 4loop2loop.com. Use MEDCAB, MEDCAB, when ordering to get discounts. Make a statement.
Yeah, thank you for listening to part 1 and part 2. If you haven't listened to part 2 yet, make sure you check out part 2. you know. But yeah, this was our first one, you know. Yeah, feet first, just jumped in, and it was nerve-wracking because I was definitely a little nervous before we started, but as we got into it, things felt a little easier. But yeah, I definitely felt the conversation. It's a little intense here and there, but we got some good things out of it, and I hope we could all learn those places if you want to get involved like that, you know, saying, because it's a very important topic, and that topic's not really going anywhere. You know, it's just only getting bigger and bigger, from the NFL to whatever. You got the president saying this and that. You got saying people shooting people up here and there. You know, and like they label it one way, and then they label other people another way. So this topic is not going anywhere. You know, it's an ongoing thing, and I hope that people will feel propelled to go out and check out some of these meetings and learn something and get involved. You know, because the more people that have knowledge of these subjects, the better we can better understand things to do and make better moves. But yeah, thank you to our sponsors, Jellyfish Treasury and 4Loop 2Loop. You can find them both on Instagram. And for Jellyfish Treasury, that's JELLYFISH TREASURY. And for 4Loop 2Loop, that's number 4 LOOP, number 2 LOOP. And yeah, check out the items. Christmas is coming up. It's right around the corner. It's gonna be a little sooner than you expect. So this will be the perfect time, you know, and there's always a discount with the Medcab, so check them out. But yeah, the featured artist for these episodes is Aki Burmese, saying the soulful, talented Aki Burmese. And you guys check him out. Check out his interviews. He's a very interesting guy, very smart guy. He's got a good brain, good head on his shoulders, knows a lot of things, you know. And but I was most impressed with his song, Medicine. That was, well, he's got a lot of good music, but this song was the one that really brought me in and got me checking out what he's doing. It's just so soulful, and he's got this growl and like little parts of the song you can just pick out and use in your everyday life. But yeah, and the other track that we have on these 2 episodes, I wanted to drop one of mine, but saying the fire's not ready yet, but I promise the heat is coming. But yeah, we have a young bull coming out of Boston, saying Juan Diablo. And this is a song I might get dressed to, saying if I'm going out. It's called In My Zone. All right, check it out. Saying, yeah, check out Bloody Bean Coalition. Saying the link. Saying the info for these 2 artists will be in the bio. So check it out. Get involved. All right. Till next time. Enjoy.
Rock with the Henny, Remy Patron. Yo, bitch keep hitting my line, won't leave me alone. Them niggas hate cause I got this shit on my own. I'm in my zone, bitch, I'm in my zone. Sippin' Ciroc with the Henny, Lil Remy Patron. Smoking the strong. Got your bitch all on my line, she won't leave me alone. Calling my phone, she want a bone. I'm busy chasing the dough, taking the glow with the cold. Pour up before that I'm gone, bitch, I'm in my zone. She thinking my status, all of you niggas is average. She want a savage, so from the carriage, chasing this money, my habit, clipping the matic. Spit at you faggots, you want the bitch, but I had it, hit it and pass it. Talking about bitches, no business, my niggas ain't matching. I take an ounce of that sour straight to my dome. Nothing but backwards and frontals, that's what I want. Them bitches can't tell me nothing because I'm grown. I'm in my zone, bitch, I'm in my shit on my own. I'm in my zone, bitch, I'm in my zone. We mix a rock with the Henny, Remy, Patron. Yo, bitch, keep hitting my line, won't leave me alone. Them niggas hate cause I got this shit on my own. I'm in my zone, bitch, I'm in my zone.
I'm gone with the wind, so stone still rolling up again. Baby, I want the 500 bins in my neck to look like Eric and Rakim. I'm from the 80s. Woo! I'm waving. Man, this Molly got me zoning crazy. And hard as fuck when I'm in your lady. Shooting nuts on the lips, that pussy underrated. From the city where they hate for fun. Most of my niggas locked, they too big to run. Dizzy off Henny, I can't drink Patron. They mad on the low, cause they get in on my own.
Bitch, I'm in my zone. We mix a rock with the Henny, Remy, Patron. Yo, bitch, keep hitting my line, won't leave me alone. Them niggas hate cause I got this shit on my own. I'm in my zone. Bitch, I'm in my zone. We mix a rock with the Henny, Remy, Patron. Yo, bitch, keep hitting my line, won't leave me alone. Them niggas hate cause I got this shit on my own. I'm in my zone. Bitch, I'm in my zone. Ooh.